Hey y'all, hey, welcome to Thugging It Out. Thugging It Out is a platform where we create a safe space to acknowledge, experience, and overcome real life issues in a positive and healthy way. This week, I want to move forward from hurt and pain and discuss love. And to expand a little bit, I brought in some reinforcement, no other than husband Romeo. Say what's up to the people.
What up, people?
So, yeah, let's hop right on in. Love is something I think most people want, in which everyone seeks, but a select few truly experience. Also, it is the most weaponized tool that toxic people use to antagonize the weak. Love is beautiful, exhilarating, and pure. However, a lot of us don't know how it feels, how it looks, or even how to express it. So, what is love to you?
Well, to me, I've learned that love is strength, it's compassion, it's endurance, it's understanding. Those are a few things that I've learned that love is.
Did you always feel love was that?
Well, when I first fell in love, no, I didn't understand what love was. As I got older, we ended up dating more. Uh, so then that's when I started, uh, I guess you could say, really feeling love, really falling in love.
Do you remember any childhood experiences with love, like from like a child aspect?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess when you were kids or young, you equate love based off action, right? Or sometimes words, right? Like meaning like you hear "I like you" a lot, or "I love you," or action wise be they. I remember always her buying me food, or uh, hey, put a couple dollars in my pocket when we was teenagers, or just going to the movies, holding hands. You know, that to me that was love.
So, would you say it was real love? Or what do you think real love is? Or do you think it's a such thing as real love?
You know what? I'm actually say it was because if I compare the innocence of as far as the mind wise back then, there was no motive behind it, right? I feel like my childhood teenage love was more pure than a lot of the relationships, not my current one, but a lot of relationships before you, because there was motives behind it. There was reasons behind it. Back then, you could really be in love with somebody, really love somebody. I know we call it childish or whatever, but you could really be in love with somebody and y'all two love each other because there was no motive behind it. It was just pure offer. I like you
But how does I like you equate to love?
because it grows, right? We got older, so the like for us turned into love. It grew.
How? How so?
I mean, just started continue to date more. We dated more, we hung out more, we spent more time with each other, we did more, we talked more. And again, we got older. So she got older and her mind matured. I got older. We were still dating when we was in high school.
And with that love that you experienced, would you take a bullet for that love?
No, I ain't taking off. No, I don't know about that. Now you call me up now. Hold on. So would I take a bullet? Probably back then, yeah. In my because that's what I was so over like just forward. So maybe in my mind back then, yeah. But I don't have that love for her right now or anymore. So
No, me in that moment, I'm not speaking on now. I'm saying in that moment, were you willing, like had a willingness to do whatever it took for somebody? Was you able to do that, or was it just based off of what I would say lust? Do you think that you understood the difference between lust and love?
no, I ain't understand the difference. So I guess back then, my mindset probably would have been in my mind. I probably would have been like, "Yeah, I'll take a bullet for it." But reality is, no, I probably wouldn't have. Right? That's just back then. But now that I know better, no, I wouldn't have. Right? And then on top of that, it probably was lust. I think we were lusting for each other to a certain extent. I think the lust grew.
So you think the lust grew into love?
I think it did as we got became adults because we dated as grown. I was 20, 21, 22. We dated. we still were talking, we still, had feelings for each other.
So to me, I feel there's love as far as just the act of saying that you love somebody, as far as that you don't want nothing to hurt, you don't want nothing to happen to them, you don't want them to be hurt, you just want the best for them. And I also think it's a difference from being in love with somebody. And I feel
So
like a lot of times people kind of take the kindness or the gushy feelings that you might experience from just somebody being nice to you and equating that to love, when that's not necessarily like love.
I get what you're saying. So let me ask you then: have you ever been in love?
um I know
Bef-
for years I used to always say like like this particular person was like my first love or whatever. But as I'm an adult, I could see that it was not love. And from relationship to relationship, I recognize what love was and what love isn't. And as I sit here and say what love is and what isn't, I feel like love is not this gushy feeling that you experience. Because I feel like if you genuinely love somebody, regardless of the gushy feeling, that you always want the best for them. And I feel like a lot of times as young adults, we equate the gushy feeling to love, when if our backs was against the wall and we had to pick them or ourselves, it's just human nature to pick ourselves. So I feel like that's not necessarily love.
I get what you're saying. I guess I understand what you're saying because it's like fairy tale, right? We all want to believe in fairy tale, even as men and young men and young women. It's we grow up around this whole fairy tale love thing, and reality is that's not true, right? Love is not a fairy tale. It's what I said. In my opinion, it's strength, right? It's understanding. It's compassion. So how did you know that you were in love with me then if you had never experienced love?
I knew I was in love with you based off of a different type of a different type of actions. I feel like love is an action. I feel like a lot of people want to speak on love as more so just an act. Like love is we go together, or love is we have a relationship, or people want to equate it to that, when I look at love as being action based. Love is what somebody does and what they don't do, what somebody says and what they don't say. And when somebody show you that and who they really are, that's how you know if they love you or you can love them. But when somebody is not necessarily showing you the actions or putting your best interest first, I feel like it's impossible to be loved. Because if we really go back to like childhood love, as far as like between a child and their parent, your parent always gonna want the best for you. Your parent's not gonna do anything to hurt you. But then when we go into a romantic type of love, it feel like, and most of the society is based on being hurt first, which is a complete contradiction from what we're kind of conditioned to look at love as a child, to what we really experience as young adults.
Hmm. So you only got that, all of that, that mindset was based off meeting me and dating me. Because isn't shouldn't love be founded, or shouldn't you recognize love based off your father? Because don't they say, isn't the saying is a girl's first love is her father?
I mean, of course, I feel like that's a different type of love, though. I feel like a father's love models what love should look like, but also fathers are imperfect people. At the end of the day, parents are still humans themselves. They're flawed people, so we can't necessarily say that our father or your mother, or however you want to look at it, whoever raised you, this is the true representation of love, because, like I said, they're flawed individuals. You have to really understand what love is, and the definition behind it, and the feelings that comes with it, before you could easily say like, oh, I love that person loves me.
Well, I mean, like, well, guess then when going back to that question, then maybe my first love was lusting, right? Maybe it was just me in this fairy tale world of liking someone so much that I thought it was love, but it probably was fairy tale.
And I think that's what a lot of us do. I feel like we mistake those gushy feelings, or just mistake the goodness or just the good memories or just the first encounters and equate that to love without actually opening up our mind and really analyzing it, like, is this really love? I feel like a lot of times that people, when it comes to friendships, family, or even romantic relationships, we don't necessarily ask ourselves, like, is this really love? I feel like a lot of us just base it off of, oh, well, I feel this inside. But sometimes our heart could kind of steer us to the wrong direction.
I agree. I agree. The person I am today, I agree with you. I understand. I understand love now, but you asked me back then, so.
I mean, because personally, I feel like when I look at my first love or whatever, I could easily say like, "Oh, we was together from this time to this time, and I've just felt love." But then when you really analyze it, like, well, did this person ever really do things that was in my best interest, or kind of made sure that I was always okay, or just kind of went the extra mile to me for me, like I would did for them? And a lot of times, the answer was no.
But the thing is, are you really thinking like that at 20? I'm gonna say between 16 and 21.
Of course not, but that's part of the
Yeah,
problem. I feel like a lot of people use this same standard even as adults. I feel like a lot of us still look for that gushy feeling as grown as people, thinking that, oh, this is going to be my wife or my husband. This is the person I'm going to love forever, when love is way deeper than just a gushy feeling.
it is. I mean, using our own situation, the reason why I use the word understanding or compassion or endurance, right? Those words is what I needed to believe in to get and use to get through certain situations, delicate situations that me and you went through. And I felt like if I didn't have compassion, if I didn't have endurance, if I didn't have understanding, you know what I'm saying, would we be sitting here, right? And I'm just speaking from my part, would we be sitting here, right? Because it takes these type of things to overcome delicate situations. So yeah, I no longer believe love is a fairy tale. I believe it's hard work. I believe it's a job. And I believe you have to put what you put in is what you will receive back.
But it's crazy though, if you really think about it, how, say for instance, Disney, or cartoons kind of what the word I'm looking for, they kind of condition us to think that love
Or manipulate
is,
you.
I'm saying condition, they
Yeah.
kind of condition us to think that love is just, look at all the Disney princesses, a lot of them, they come probably from some type of misconfused background between them and their parents, and then somehow they end up in some type of issue, and then somehow Prince Charming come rescue them, when it's like that's really not a true representation of love. But we take that model and we start looking for it in real life. Or men in general think that they always supposed to be a knight in shining hour and trying to save someone, when in all honesty, that kind of sets a man up.
For failure.
Yeah, it's like, so I'm only here to save you. What am I getting in return?
Yeah, and or even within saving, uh, men don't recognize that you lose yourself, possibly, right? I always tell people I had conversations with, I tell people you should never try to build someone or fix anyone. And what that is revolved around saving.
Yeah.
And you should not do that because in the midst of trying to save that woman, there's a possibility, a huge possibility, you lose sight of who you are, and that's never good. So again, love is it's beautiful, but you got to fight through. It's that beautifulness, like the rose growing through the concrete. It's that beautifulness, right? It's gonna come with some up and down bumps, bruises, but eventually it blossoms.
But then that's kind of a misconception when people say love is hard. Do
Love
you
is
agree with that?
love is hard.
Or love is pain? I feel like a lot of times in the Black community, especially with young girls or women that come from like bad backgrounds, that they automatically assume that in order for you to be in love, that you have to go through the hurt and the pain first.
See, I don't know. So there's a difference, right? The way I model it, right? So love is hard. And when I mean by hard, I mean hard in the sense of accepting your partner for who they are, right? Because that's a challenge. Accepting their ways, certain ways, because there's a challenge, right? And what I mean by accepting certain ways, meaning like your partner might drive a certain way that you not used to a person driving in your life. Or when we talk about leaving the top off the toothpaste, right? It's those small things that sometimes can make love a little tough because it takes you to get used to. Now, when we talk about pain, I don't equate love with pain because love shouldn't be pain, right? I don't I You can't sit here and tell me that I love you if I slap you. That's pain. That's not love. If I break your heart, if I abuse you mentally, verbally, that's not love. And that's considered pain, right? Love, again, is hard. And what I mean by hard is, again, trying to understand and get used to your partner, this person that you're going to try to spend the rest of your life with. It could be complicated and it can be hard because that person is not going to be the same every day for the rest of y'all lives. So there's a difference between pain and hard.
Yeah, I agree because I feel like a lot of times I have friends or I done saw family or just, people in general or really women, they really think that they have to go through the ringer with a man in order to really experience love when they don't even recognize that that's not what love look like. That is not how it should feel. That's not how you should go about it. And honestly, it's really not love. It might be a lot of things, but love is not it.
Mm-mm. No, that's not love. It's not at all.
Do you believe in a such thing as unconditional love?
Yes. Yes.
You think you give out unconditional love?
Yes. Because unconditional love is, for me, is loving you no matter how angry I am with you. And I say that because when you find yourself mad at your partner, but you still stop at the store and get them something, you think of them, even when you're mad, right? Example with you, whenever we've been into it, I used to always see you still fix my plate. You don't have to. You could have been like, I'm gonna let this motherfucker starve. But you still went in there and fixed my plate and served me my plate, right? So that's unconditional love. When you can find yourself doing things, even when you're mad at this person, you're still willing to do them.
Unconditional love to me is the willingness to be kind, to show up, to support, to care, to listen without the need for anything in return. And I feel that love is something that you should just naturally give. And when it's pure, you reap the benefits effortlessly.
Yeah, I agree. Pure love, man, is the best. When there's no motives behind it, when there's no hidden I don't know, secrets where you're trying to figure out how to get over it. When it's just pure, man, that stuff is wonderful. And I would love for everyone to experience love because I have experienced wonderful, pure, genuine love. And it is a great feeling. It is awesome to have that feeling.
Yeah. And I have a big heart. And love is something that I show and I give to everyone without expecting anything in return. And like most of us, it doesn't always attract the healthiest people. And that, my friends, is the other edge of the sword where love can easily turn into pain, which is why it's important to love wholeheartedly, but always to protect yourselves. Heartbreak does not feel good, and contrary to public opinion, it can be avoided. Do you agree?
No, no,
You don't think heartbreak can be avoided?
no, no, no. And I say that because how can I put it? I get well. Let me back up. It can't. It cannot be avoided. That's kind of that's a tricky question. Go
Listen.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
feel that we set ourselves up for heartbreak
Okay.
unknowingly and sometimes knowingly. Like we ignored the red flags, or we have the idea that we can change someone, or mold them into who we want them to be. And I feel like a lot of times we do not accept people for who they are. We always see the person, the potential. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with seeing a person's potential, but a lot of times people show us who they are, but then we say, well, I could deal with that for now, but I know it'll get better. But a lot of us don't have that idea that, okay, what we see is what we get. A lot of us look at the end goal like, oh, well, he don't have a job right now. He seems lazy, but I know I can get him to get a job, or I know I can get him to provide. When it's like, sis, he already showed you that he don't want to work. How do you think that you being with him is gonna make him go to work? Or from a man's perspective, a man could see a woman out here in the streets partying, but he could say, "I like her. I'm gonna get her to stay in the house more." How are you gonna get somebody to stay in the house that's showing you who they is? It's only up to them to change. But you can't necessarily say, "Well, I love you. You're supposed to change." That's up to the person. You can't force somebody to do that, and that is how a lot of us set ourselves up for heartbreak.
Okay, I agree with everything you said. The only thing, but I make an exception. I say this all the time with people I have a conversation with. I make an exception based off being the number one rule is if it's your first time going through something, right? Because a lot of times we go through certain things, and I'm not saying that we got. I'm not saying you should endure pain to get to love. I'm just saying sometimes situations that for your first time going through. And I'm gonna give an example would be, let's say, uh I'll use our example. I'll use our relationship, having you being the mother of my child, right? First person to give me a baby. Never had a baby until I met you, right? Leave leave the state with you. This is the first experience of us of everything that I'm going through, right? So when we start having our troubles, right? Could I have avoided heartbreak? Or I'm not saying you broke my heart. I'm just saying could I have
But
avoided?
that's not heartbreak. That is a trial. I'm not saying that with love, there are trials and tribulations. There will be times where things get hard. However, those do not equate to heartbreak. I feel like heartbreak is when the person is not giving you or showing up for you how you're supposed to be. They're not loving you how you need to be loved. They're not showing you what love is. And in a relationship is no type of exchange because love isn't a fair exchange. As much as you give out, that's the same that you should receive. And I feel like when you're not getting that, that's what leads to heartbreak. I'm not saying that, in a relationship, everything is going to be peaches and cream because that's absolutely false. You will have trials and tribulations, but it won't equate to heartbreak.
Well, when you put it like that, then I agree with you. Then all the way, yeah, yeah, you're right. So you love heartbreak can be avoided if people, like you said, look at the red flags, start accepting folks for who they are, and knowing when to leave. Like it's that third eye, that third whatever is telling you get away. You just hooked on. No, I could change them. I can't stand people that believe they can change somebody.
But it's not even that. I feel like even with the whole want to change people are like, well, I love them. And it's like, that's not even love. And
You
then when
right.
you sit there and ask them, like, why are you constantly going through this? And why are you constantly taking this person back? Or why are you constantly trying to make something work? And the first thing somebody say is, because I love them.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's like, do you though?
Yeah,
But then it truly starts if you really ask somebody, like, do you love yourself though?
yeah, because that's where it starts. If you love yourself enough, you will not tolerate or deal with things that can or people that will break your heart. You will not tolerate it. You will get away, and that is all due to you loving yourself, putting yourself first, understanding your worth. So you're right. You're absolutely
And
right.
also, do not get me wrong. I understand that when we start dating people or we just get ourselves out there, of course, the person, their representative is on the out front, on the outer part. You don't see who the real person is. You just see what they kind of want you to see. However, I feel like that's kind of up to you to really look at the outer part and kind of inspect it.
No, I agree because I always say that a male or a male or a female will show you who they truly are, even with them showing up what they represent. If you have one, give them time. Two, a person will show you based off they words and their actions will align with each other. When you met me and we everything I told you, I also showed you. So you knew at some point you start to see that he's standing on what he say and his words and his actions align. People that are out here that are faking it, people that are out here that's got a motive behind it, trying to whatever the case may be, their words and their actions are not going to align with each other. They're just not. They can tell you they love you, but they're gonna show you something different. I guarantee it.
Exactly. I feel like it's only right that we kind of just accept people for who they is, and whatever somebody show, I feel like that's just what you get. And if we start really just taking people for who they are and accepting it, I feel like it's only right that we could avoid heartbreak.
No, I agree with you. A person's actions and their words will align with each other. We need to start recognizing that people that are out here flogging, people that are out here being on some sneaky stuff, all you got to do is allow them to express themselves, but make sure you watching them and seeing if their actions are going to align with what they saying. And that's how you know you got somebody real or somebody that's just on some BS.
And also another thing, I feel like sometimes, I'm not gonna necessarily say listen to what people might say because everybody do change. But a lot of times we might hear rumors or hear certain things that from so and so about so and so. But then for some odd reason we get in our head that, well, he ain't act like that to me, so maybe that's just them. And I really see it with a lot of women that we could know Ray Ray ain't worth nothing. Like we know Ray Ray put his hands on women. We know Ray Ray never had a job, but somehow, some way, women think, well, he ain't gonna do that to me, and we think that we better, or that that all of a sudden that this person gonna change for us when a person is gonna be who they is. Period.
Yeah, because if you come into the game or you come into the dating world trying to listen, you can't fix nobody. You can't fix, you can't force, you can't make nobody into this whatever person you want them to be, whether it's a male or a woman. So if somebody show you who they are, believe who they are. Don't sit here and be like, well, I don't understand why people got this mentality of, well, that person touched the stove, so just because they did that, ain't I'm not them. He ain't gonna do this to me, or she ain't gonna do this to me. Yes, they will. You're no different than the person that touched the damn stove and got burned. You gonna get burned too. Stop thinking that you're invincible. Stop thinking that you are untouchable, or that a person ain't gonna hurt you the way they hurt the last person. They will, and it's up to you to recognize that and see that. Otherwise, again, you're not gonna avoid heartbreak. You're gonna continue to have heartbreak, and I don't want to hear that. Well, you gotta have heartbreak to know what you like and what. No, that's not true either. Love is not pain. It could be tough. It could be hard based off you adapting to your significant other, but it's not pain. And you should not have to feel your heart broken. You should not have to get verbally, physically abused to feel like he loves me or she loves me. That is not love.
Yeah, because honestly, love, just like with anything, requires growth. Like, in order for you to end up with somebody for the rest of your life, it requires growth. And just like growth hurts. It's the basically an ever changing thing. But growth is a good type of hurt. It's not the type of hurt where you walking around with a black eye, or you walking around because this person then crashed your car, or you walking around because this person then messed up your house. You're not sitting there going through pain that can actually be avoided. Growth is when your shoes are too small. Growth is when you can't necessarily, when you need some new clothes, you can't fit the same clothes that you've been in because you basically are changing it the right type of direction. Like that's the difference between growth and pain.
And another thing of growth, right? Because that's a small, just for people that don't understand. But on a higher note, I'll use the example of therapy, and I'll use our relationship. Growth was both of us getting in therapy. working on our individual selves for each other. I'm gonna say it again. Growth was both of us individually getting into therapy to work on ourselves for each other. Because more than likely, if we work on ourselves, we're gonna then it's gonna then go over into our relationship where we then start operating as a couple on the same playing ground, right? Because we individually working on ourselves. So that's growth. It's those things that's growth when it comes to love.
Yeah, and also I feel like with heartbreak, it begins with ourselves. I feel like we start to break our own hearts. Like we're not loving ourselves properly. We're not doing everything for the, empowerment or to better ourselves. We're not making sure that we have the best case scenario. A lot of times people have toxic relationships within themselves. Like the inner voice in your head is really toxic. The habits that you have are very toxic. The way that you act, the way that you move, it's toxic altogether. But then these are the same broken people that's out in the playing field that's looking for relationships. These are the people, we are the sometimes the messed up individuals in the situation. Like sometimes we are the problem. And in order to really move forward into love and to avoid heartbreak, we kind of got to start with ourselves because we really be breaking our own hearts. And that's why I say that heartbreak is avoidable simply by start with yourself. And I feel like that's a big step that in today's society that we don't want to take. We want to skip the working on ourselves and straight into marriage. We want to skip going to therapy and going straight into a relationship, which is the reason why we become even more broken. We become even more toxic. We become even worse than we was when we started.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. So, understand love again. We're gonna repeat it's not pain, but it could be hard, but it ain't pain. And it is wonderful. Me and Kenya started off in our relationship uh tough. We started off in our relationship not getting along. It wasn't easy. And she could attest to this, right? The hard part was getting to know each other. The hard part was adapting to each other. The hard part was accepting each other, right? But once we got over that hump, once we got over those difficulties, we just been flowing. We've been in love. We've been rocking, and everything been good. So yes, love is hard, but it's not pain, and you gotta understand the difference.
Yeah, and also I feel like with love, it requires a screening process. Like we can't just be out here dating willy nilly and thinking that we just gonna come across Prince Charming. It's a process. We have to start, really using discernment and really starting to look at people for who they is. And right then and there, decide like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, nope, this is not what I'm looking for. Nope, I'm not finna continue this, and I'm not finna do that. And I feel like once we start doing that, we will experience real love. We will experience pure love.
I agree, baby. I agree.
And just on another note, I had did a little, I be into my readings or whatever, and I found the chapter basically where in the Bible they talk about love. And it's First Corinthians chapter 13, 4 through 8, which says I'm pretty sure a lot of people know. But then I was reading it and I kind of in a way kind of just said like, what if we start using this framework to really decipher what love really is? Because I'm pretty sure it's going to help us avoid a lot of mistakes, which it says love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous, boastful, proud, or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable. It does not keep a record of wrongs. It doesn't rejoice about injustice, but rejoices when the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, and is always hopeful and endures through every situation. Now, that is true love. That is the love that God intended for us. It's the love that we deserve and the love that we can give and receive if we start with Him and ourselves. Would you like to add anything else?
Yeah, just I want to add that continue fighting, right? Continue fighting for who you love. Continue for fighting for what you love. What you put in, you will get back. And like I always tell my wife, we are in control of being together in this relationship. And the moment one of us stop, that's when it'll be over. And as long as we put in the work and we fight, we will forever be together. So
Okay, yeah, I ain't mean to take you out of church or whatever, but it's necessary in order for me to really drive our point home. And like you said, love is a battle, but it's not a type of battle that should ever end up with you being hurt. It's uh, a willingness to really just continue on with the good fight. Continue to fight for that person. Continue to fight for yourself. And on that note, I want y'all to have a wonderful week. Remember to be grateful, be blessed, be thankful, and most importantly, keep thugging it out. Peace.